Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. Thank you for everyone for joining from around the world. This is Gautam Aggarwal from TYE Carolinas. We're proud to be hosting the global competition for high school innovation today. And we also want to thank Sajan Pillai for joining today. I wanted to introduce Sajan here in terms of his background. I don't know if anyone has had a chance to review his YouTube videos. He's truly a rock star, a dynamic speaker, a great storyteller, and you'll hear some of that today. I really do recommend that folks check out his YouTube video. He is a general partner at Season 2 Ventures, which has about an expectation for $100 million raise and invests in B2B across several different industries. In addition to that, he's a chairman at SP Life Care, focusing on aging and healthcare. An engineer by background, but a storyteller. I'm sure the students today will really enjoy the discussion. We're going to focus a little bit on talking a little bit about the challenges that this generation faces and how those challenges will eventually be solved by the innovators, by the entrepreneurs that we've had pitched today. So take it away. Thank you.
Thank you, Gautam, very much. First of all, congratulations to all the students and parents who've reached the TYE Global Finals. So welcome and congratulations to the innovators and entrepreneurs of the future. I also would like to thank Vijay Menon, Mohini Suchanti from the TYE Global team, Simi Prasad, president of the TYE Carolinas, and Gautam, all the TYE volunteers, contributors, organizers, but particularly and most importantly, the parents. My view on entrepreneurship is to talk a little less about my own accomplishments and other entrepreneurs, because what is important for your generation today is to look at the scale of challenges that we are, as humanity, is facing. And each generation and greatness of each generation is defined by how that generation stands up to those challenges. From that perspective, you have incredible challenges and you have incredible opportunities. So in my view, what are the biggest challenges that is facing humanity today? At the top of the list is the climate change and climate crisis. It's simply this: as the earth burns, as the ocean level temperatures are rising and temperature on land is rising, rapid wildfires and droughts are beginning to ravage our earth. The only species, the only thing that can stop this is human ingenuity. In the next several decades, entrepreneurial spirits of young entrepreneurs like you would make a fundamental difference. And if it didn't, the stakes are too high. It's the survival of our species, the life as we know it, at stake. We are truly on the razor's edge. And from my perspective, I can see how generations of entrepreneurs will focus on how to solve this problem globally. The second major challenge, you're all students from reputed schools here participating in this TYE Global competition. But think about today, just today, there are 260 million kids in the world who has never seen the inside of a school and will never see one. 1 billion people in the world are illiterate. They cannot read nor write. Think about it. 20 countries exist in the world where more than 50% of the citizens are illiterate. So this educational inequality will continue to daunt human civilization forward. And we have to solve this problem. And the third thing is talking about inequalities. There are a number of inequalities that are springing within nations and outside nations. Let's take health. A child born in a poor country is 60 times more likely to die than another child born to in a wealthy country. So it's no longer who you are that matters, it's where you are that matters. And that has to change. Look at income inequalities. Just put this in perspective. Per capita income of the poorest countries is about $600, while the richest country is about $120,000. So putting this in sheer terms, if you are a citizen, average citizen in Central Africa, it will take you 7 years to spend the average money somebody in Switzerland would spend in a month. That is the disparity, geographic disparity of wealth. We got to find solutions to keep the world as one. The other important crisis, particularly as you see with the pandemic, is the health crisis. Access to health is a human right. But while it's a right, that right is denied to a large section of people. Think about the variance in life expectancy across communities, across geographies. Think about mortality rates. Think about disease inequalities. Think about preventable diseases that is ravaging countries after countries. So it is not only inequalities, health also has inequities that is based on the lines of race, sex, class, and other factors that seriously affects your opportunity to have right access to healthcare. The other major problem that the world is facing is the access to banks and finances for citizenship at large, the financial inclusion problem. Put this in perspective, 1.7 billion adults in the world today have no bank account, none. And even those who have the bank account, the use of accounts is only for 50% of the people who are in a bank. Roughly a third of the world is denied of any access to credit today. So these issues, the climate change, education, the inequality, access to health and credit, becomes the 5 strong challenges that we have to face, barring any unforeseen ones. So I'm sure the entrepreneurs and the innovators of this age, each of you would be ready to handle these challenges in your own unique way. So the entrepreneurial journey, in my view, I'll give you some of the value system as an entrepreneur that was ingrained in me. The first one is somebody long time ago, when I got out of college, told me one thing. He said, son, don't go to your grave with music still between your ears. So I thought about it a lot when I was growing up, saying, if you have some talent that nature, God, your parents have blessed you, don't go to your grave with that still between your ears. Do something about it. The second value system is someone famously said once, life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. That's the exact story for entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship can only be understood backwards because your journey is yours uniquely, but it must be lived forward, and you must have the courage to live the entrepreneurship journey forward. The third great value system that was inculcated was simply the adversity, the ability to handle adversity as much as your success. There is a sense that is somewhat misrepresented in the media that glorifies entrepreneurship, makes it look like you start a company, you become very wealthy, where you become successful, affects millions of people. And they don't really talk about a journey from the beginning to the destination. The ultimate measure of you isn't where one stands in the moments of glory and success. Of course, it will happen, but how one stands up against hardship and adversity. That is another strong value system for an entrepreneur. The fourth one that I think it's profound is I see thousands, we invest in hundreds of companies around the world. I see dozens and dozens of entrepreneurs who spend their entire life, have built a solution, and now looking for a problem. That has to change. That is one of the reasons why startups fail at an astounding rate. So Einstein famously once said, if I had an hour to solve a problem, I would spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and 5 minutes about the solution. So each of you future entrepreneurs, you should take a PhD in the problems first before you find a solution. The other important value system is when you are doing something, when you are breaking the rules, when you are making the rules, people around you sometimes might criticize, might say this is not going to work, might tell you that you are wasting your time, you're wasting your energy. That reminds me of Teddy Roosevelt's famous quote, man in the arena. So it's not the critic that who counts. The credit indeed belongs to the man in the arena, the person who's actually doing it. So I encourage you to be action-based and actually do entrepreneurship as opposed to thinking about it. And the other important value system that was incorporated right from the beginning is an entrepreneur can be successful if one truly loves the game and never confuse the game with the score. Yes, there are social status, connections, wealth, other things that may come as a result of the entrepreneurship or not. But that shouldn't be and couldn't be the primary motivator and driver for being an entrepreneur. You got to really love the game of entrepreneurship. In fact, you got to catch a fever about it to be successful. And finally, I think is the most profound value system is you have to make a choice. All of you are very blessed to have great parents, a great school system, great set of friends, born in a great place at a great time, and you have a lot of tools. Many of you and most of you will be successful regardless of what you do. The choice you have to make is, do you want to be successful or do you want to be significant? So success to significance and understanding the difference and making sure you have that in your mind from the get-go will mark your success as an entrepreneur. I hope these value systems that I have been lucky enough to receive and have seen applying it into a great deal of success. I hope some of these will resonate with each of you. And the future is changing. And very quickly, to summarize it, everything about our future, the reason why we should be concerned about our future is because all of us have to spend the rest of our lives there. So ourselves with smart devices, mobile phones, data, 3D printing, suggestion engines, holograms, robotics, artificial intelligence, recognition systems, instant language translation and supply chains, personalization, digital health, tissue engineering, genetic testing, all of them are coming at an astounding pace. The future of identity and citizenship will change. That we have to deal with issues like privacy, police state, and political systems. With this, the role of states in the new world will change. And more importantly, how we reconstruct areas of war-torn or disease-torn areas with refugees, with infrastructure, all of them is bound to change in your lifetime. So with this message, I can tell you something. We don't know what exactly the future holds. No one knows. But we do know who holds the future, and that's you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sajan. Really, really appreciate that discussion. I think it was an amazing speech and great advice to the entrepreneurs today. I think in a lot of the pitches that I heard today, I heard echoes of some of the same things that you discussed, which was kind of having the passion, identifying the problem. It's great to see that the entrepreneurs, the students who were there today are in the beginning parts of the journey that you've had. I think we potentially may have some time for a Q&A as well. Are there any questions? No questions any questions from the audience? Maybe I can ask a few then. And please feel free to type in questions in the Q&A, but there should be a Q&A button on the right-hand side of the screen. So Sajan, I'll talk a little, ask a question to you in terms of the challenges that you faced. You alluded to this a little bit, but kind of personally when you're not successful, personally when you have a vision, when you're going after something and you may not get it, how do you traverse through that? What are successes, things that you've done that have helped you?
Well, I think, Gautam, that's an important question because there are lots more failures before you get to a success point. So you got to deal with failures in adversities. So one thing as an entrepreneur that I've always wondered is, whatever is the problem that we are facing, will that problem matter in a year from now? So sometimes when you're an entrepreneur, you get consumed with the short-term nature of the problem. But if you just sit back and say, does this matter a year from now? And what truly matters? So the lesson that not all problems have to be solved. Some problems need to be solved. So that's very important. And second is, people fail because they run out of, the traditional wisdom is they run out of money or they run out of time. That's the two reasons why entrepreneurs fail. But there is another aspect. People run out of energy. So it is not just asking for more money and getting more time, but also making sure as an entrepreneur, your purpose, the source of energy has your purpose that keeps you in the fight. And if you don't have that commitment, sometimes the journey of entrepreneurship can be very, very hard because there's nowhere you're renewing your energy to take on the journey. So that would be my reaction.
Another question I'll ask, and I love the construct of running out of energy, running out of passion. I think that probably actually is more often what causes some ideas not to progress than some of the other ideas, because the passion can sometimes result in some of those other items you mentioned. But thinking of it, at least from my perspective, 20 years ago, when I was potentially in the shoes that these high school students are in, how do you balance, or how do you think about things that you're passionate about, but maybe you don't necessarily see the immediate career, immediate job coming out of that, versus the longer term perspective about what you really, really, really want to do? How do you balance those two, and how should a student be thinking about their passions versus maybe near term financial independence?
Oh, obviously this is a trade-off that every generation has made. But I'll tell you the good news, Gautam, is today, because of the venture system and because of the financial design that has happened over the last 30 years, 3 decades, access to capital for ideas, even long-term ideas, is very much here today. It was not the case 20 years ago. Today, there are funds that support very long-term views of entrepreneurs. Now, I'm not saying that every entrepreneur with long-term idea will get to be funded and supported. So there is always the trade-off between your short-term needs and future needs. So this is the point. You can't be a half entrepreneur. When you're an entrepreneur, you can do something and being an entrepreneur. It's not a hobby. It's a fever. It's a passion. It's all encompassing. It's not just 24/7, right? It is 24/7 and then some. So before you make the jump, you have to assess your readiness. Just like before you take a leap, you have to figure out, can you get to the other side? Because you can't cross a chasm in 2 steps. Similarly, you have to know where you are and who you are before you take the step. But I have to tell you that once you take the step of entrepreneurship, the support system exists. And that's the hopeful message for all the young entrepreneurs. Support system exists today, unlike what it was even 30 years ago. So that's the good news.
And building on the support system, for me personally, at least thinking about my career, my trajectory, one of the aspects that I think has been important is mentorship. And as a young person, understanding how can you learn not only from your own ideas, but learn from others. Any guidance, any advice to the young entrepreneurs in the audience in terms of what they should be thinking about, in terms of how do they find mentors, how do they speak to them, how do they talk to them in a way that they can actually learn and talk about the challenges and the frustrations that they're sometimes going through?
You hit upon one of the most vital things that entrepreneurs should do, is to find a mentor, a set of mentors. The point is, there is no one mentor, right? Different aspects of your entrepreneurship journey, you have to look at different mentors to help you in different stages. So the ability to go build a network, ask for advice. The good news is there are a series of networks available today that can be leveraged, including TYE. So the availability of mentors have never been greater, and you can connect digitally. In fact, what I've seen is the joy of people who have had success to share that with the younger generation so high that you only need to ask them. So my advice to entrepreneurship: ask often, ask frequently, and don't be discouraged if somebody doesn't help you, because for every person who will turn you down, there'll be 5 people who will be ready to help you.
Well, thank you so much. We really, really appreciate the time and the guidance today. I found it personally very enjoyable, and hopefully the audience did as well. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Gautam. Thank you.